We've heard an explanation from some people that it was the dogs, but apparently it was a very large pile of feces.
And did you have any discussions with Ms. Heard on the way to Coachella that evening?
We had a conversation pertaining to the surprise she left in the boss's bed prior to leaving the apartment.
And when you refer to the surprise in the boss's bed, what are you referring to?
The defecation.
And what did Ms. Heard say about the defecation in Mr. Depp's bed?
A horrible practical joke gone wrong.
What, if any, issues did Boo have with bathroom problems, if you will?
She had eaten Johnny's weed when she was a puppy and had bowel control issues for her entire life, among some other issues. She was, we regularly had to take her to the vet to try to figure out, well, what was wrong with this dog? Never met a dog that was quite like this. So she had some control issues, hence why she liked to burrow in the bed. She liked to be in the, by the foot of the bed underneath the covers. And it was customary that they slept in bed with us, but Boo, having the issues she had, we have to leave her in bed so that she wouldn't be encouraged to go to the bathroom, which would happen almost immediately once you put her down on the floor. And sometimes it happened in bed too. But yeah.
So what, if anything, did you notice about any bathroom issues in your bed before you left for Coachella?
Well, Raquel and I were both in that bed with the dogs, and I didn't notice anything, but we left them in the bed while we packed a bag to go to Coachella, so that Boo particularly didn't lose control of her didn't go to the bathroom on the floor. So we leave them in bed until you're ready to take them outside to the patio, which is their designated bathroom break area.
And what, if any, plans were there? How often did you have housekeeping at that time at your house?
The housekeepers were there every morning. Okay. Or they came every day, as far as I know.
Okay. Now, we'll get you to Coachella, but why did you tell Starling Jenkins that you had been involved in a prank gone wrong?
Objection, hearsay, leading.
I said why, Your Honor. I didn't say what she said.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Okay. Did you commit any kind of prank?
Absolutely not. Okay. Absolutely not.
And why would that not be something you would do?
First of all, I don't think that's funny. I don't know what grown woman does. I was not also in a pranking mood. My life was falling apart. I was at a crossroads in my life that was really serious, and I had just been attacked on my 30th birthday by my violent husband, with whom I was desperately in love and knew I needed to leave. It was not really a jovial time, and I don't think that's funny, period. That's disgusting.
I left Miss Heard, I left Penthouse 3. I left at 4:30 in the morning. It was actually her birthday. It was about 4:30 in the morning, April 22nd. And that's when I left. And from that moment on, I did not see Ms. Heard until May 21st.
And why was that?
I had received some news that was as absurd and grotesque and cruel. And then I was shown a picture of what the problem was. I had gone to Mr. Bett and said, she's at Coachella. I think it's a good time to go downtown so that I can get some of my things, and get them out of there, especially the things that were precious to me, you know, children, things from friends, Brando, Hunter, Thompson, whatever, things that were important to me. And he said, I don't think now's a good time to go. And I thought, it's the perfect time. She's not going to be home for 2 days. And then he showed me a photograph on his telephone of...
Objection, Your Honor. Also hearsay.
It's a photograph, Your Honor.
As being relayed to him by Mr. Bett.
He says he looked at it on his phone.
I'll overrule the objection as the photograph.
What was the photograph of Mr. Depp?
It was a photograph of the bed, our bed, and on my side of the bed, was human fecal matter. So I understood why it wasn't a good time to go down there. My initial response to that was, I laughed. It was so outside. It was so bizarre and so grotesque that I could only laugh. So I did not go down there that day.
And when I spoke to him, he was saying what I can only just, he was going on about scientists and DNA and feces, that he had some scientific analysis done and DNA analysis done, and that, as soon as I heard about this feces, he thought that was a prank, and he was going on about all the scientists that he had conferred about the DNA results with. I just thought he was out of his mind. He said he wanted to come over and talk about that, and he said he needed his wife. And he came over, and we sat on the couch, and at first it was relatively peaceful. I could tell he was inebriated, but it makes sense. In my head, it made sense. He wasn't like incoherent. It was peaceful. And then he starts talking about the feces again, and this prank that he said one of my friends had left for him in my bed that he wasn't going to be at. And I tried to point out how that didn't make any sense. I'm not even going to be there. I wasn't there. And my friends wouldn't do that. That's not something a bunch of 30-year-old women think is funny. What is he talking about? And he just kept going on and on about it. I called my friend thinking that it would quell this, what I could only see as a delusion. I thought it was just a delusion he was having. And I thought, I'll hopefully, quell this by calling my friend to if he hears my friend say, that didn't happen.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
It's not offering to prove the truth of it. Thank you. Please continue.
So I thought if I could get my friend on the phone to prove that this didn't happen, we could move on and talk about the issues that we should be talking about. We had, our marriage was over and falling apart in front of our eyes. We hadn't seen each other for a month, and his mom had just passed. I couldn't believe he wanted to talk about feces. So I call this friend thinking that will take care of it. The friend doesn't answer. I call another friend who is someone else he claimed. I don't know how both people did this, but he was claiming that this person was responsible. So I called that person. And that person is on speakerphone. And I say...
Tell us who that person is.
Io.
Io, tell it right?
Io, tell it right.
Okay.
She put me on speakerphone. So I was talking to both of them. He just just stopped by to pick up some of his stuff. And he has a theory that he, either he wants to ask you about, or and I said, okay, sure. Hello, Johnny, like, you know. And he, I think it was he said or she said, Johnny thinks that you and I together defecated on his pillow. I think the words used were shit on his pillow. So I started laughing, and I was laughing, she was laughing, and when I realized that he was serious, I was like, okay, look, you know, first of all.
And then she was telling me about she brought up the situation of her fecal matter on the bed. And and she tried to blame it on the dogs. But
Why didn't you think it could have been the dogs?
The dogs they're teacup Yorkies. They weigh about 4 pounds each. The photograph that I saw, and I mean, I lived with those dogs for many years. And so did Hilda Vargas. She's a woman who's been with me for 30 plus years, you know, from the very beginning. And she was the one who photographed it. It was clear she knew the dogs as well as I did. And that was none of that did not come from a dog. She was sitting on one side of the couch, I was sitting on the other. That's when she was trying to explain a few things about Coachella and then the fecal delivery, and saying that it was the dogs. And I could not agree with her. I'd lived with those dogs. I picked up their fun. It was not the dogs. And I went upstairs to gather belongings. When I came back downstairs, she was on the phone with Io Tillett Wright, and they were making a wonderful point of just how funny it was that I thought that some human being had actually dropped a grumpy, pardon the term, onto the bed, and they were yucking it up. They were laughing about the whole thing, and it was, you know, it was a tough couple of days.
In my wildest dreams, imagine why anybody would think that that was funny. And even if you thought it went wrong, why you didn't clean it up, why you would leave it there. Yeah. Whether you're a Hollywood star who has housekeepers and maids or whatever, there are just certain things you don't leave sitting around.